Hey.
Alright, well, to be honest, I really didn't think I'd be making a video about the Chicago Bulls at any point this season, at least certainly not this early. But in case you haven't seen recently, Coby White is having himself a bit of a breakout stretch of games here. He's been truly tremendous, and I went back and I looked through some of the tape. And I've never been the biggest Coby White guy, but he really seems like he's hit a new level. And obviously the Bulls have been the talk of the league in terms of teams that are ready to blow it up, no matter how much the front office tries to deny that fact. Pretty much every fan of every single team in the entire NBA knows that the Bulls are the next most likely team to start trading star players and go into a rebuild. And let me just say, as someone who doesn't usually go out of his way to watch the Chicago Bulls, when I dug into the tape for this video, it was very clear right away that Zach LaVine's gotta go, Alex Caruso's gotta go. I bet they hold on to DeMar DeRozan just because he is an important fourth quarter player. They probably hold on to Vucevic just because no one's gonna trade for that contract. But it is time for the era of the Coby White, Ayo Dosunmu backcourt to reign supreme in Chicago. I know Coby White is getting a lot of the praise recently because he is having himself just an awesome stretch of games, but Ayo Dosunmu also deserves a ton of praise, and he is also becoming a really good player, and the 1-2 punch that those two provide when they are on the court together is something that I just don't quite understand how Chicago hasn't leaned into them sooner. Obviously, no Zach LaVine for the last 6 games. When the game I watched, Caruso also left during the game with an injury, so it was pretty much just Dosunmu and White left as the only healthy guards outside Javon Carter, and the Bulls just looked like an entirely different team. Now, if you saw my most recent video talking about the Chicago Bulls on my channel, I was pretty much hating on Zach LaVine. I'm not afraid to admit it. He's not my favorite player in the league right now. And I asked the very simple question of, is he worth it for any team that wants to trade for him? And even though a trade does seem likely, it's kind of funny how the Bulls season has gone across these last 6 games since LaVine was ruled out with a long-term injury. Because since that point, Chicago is 4-2. If you look across the entire season, they are ranked 22nd in both offensive rating and defensive rating. But again, if you just focus on these last 6 games without Zach LaVine, then you would see that they are 11th in offensive rating and 15th in defensive rating, so some notable boosts. Now, is this all a cause and effect because of the fact that Zach LaVine is hurt and not playing on the team, therefore the team is playing better without him? Obviously not, but as the great J. Cole once said, all good jokes contain true shit. Another interesting comparison to make is to look at Coby White across his last 11 games has been putting up some great numbers. In fact, if you were to compare his stats in that stretch of games to Zach LaVine's full season stats, you'd notice that they are quite similar, which is just kind of funny because they are also similar players on the court. Now, I'm not here trying to say that Coby White as of now is a better player than Zach LaVine as of now. Also, if you look back at the stats, it's very easy to notice that Coby White is shooting above 50% from 3, which is just a crazy stat, but it's also very unsustainable. Either way, I think it is important to point this out because I just don't see a reason for Zach LaVine to remain on this team. And the same goes for Alex Caruso. He might be the best player on the Chicago Bulls team in terms of winning basketball games. And they could probably get a pretty penny if they are to sell him at the trade deadline. And again, that would also just open up so many more minutes for this Ayo and Coby White backcourt to finally get runs as the starters and to get a good experience and to thrust this team into a rebuild. You would again have those 2 pillars in the backcourt. You'd have Patrick Williams, who I refuse to die anywhere but on his hill. Like I said earlier, you can keep DeRozan, you can keep Vucevic as your veterans, and they should just go from there. Get some picks for LaVine, get some picks from Caruso, and move on. Because let me say it again, Coby White, although he probably is overperforming his usual, level of play across these last, whatever games, he is still turning out to be a really good talent. He can score the ball at will, he can get red hot from 3, in this one game I watched, he shot, I believe, like 7 of 12 from 3, was just letting it rip. A lot of catch and shoot opportunities. He even had some pull-up threes off the dribble, but majority of his work was done off the ball, which again, it plays into the reason why I think him and Ayo would be a really good duo in the backcourt. And that's because although both of them are classified as point guards, Coby White operates more as a two guard, where you can run him off screens, you can let him space the floor, catch and shoot, just like he was doing in this game. Whereas Ayo, he usually has the ball in his hands more, he's a bit more playmaking and defensive. And so again, those skills blend well together. But I think what impressed me most about Coby White's game is his ability to attack and get to the paint and just get rim pressure from the three-point line. He has really good change of pace, he is able to go into the triple threat and just destroy his man off of jab steps and triple threat moves. Not only did he finish those drives with some really nice finishes, but he also showed capability to then kick out of those drives to open shooters. And although this isn't, the strongest area of his game, it's a really good sign that even at a younger age, he is still able to do these things and he doesn't just chuck shots. And then this one play was easily my favorite from the game I watched. Coby White attacks in transition, gets to the rim, help collapses on him, so he kicks out and relocates straight to the side wing where he sets up and drills the catch and shoot three. And the reason why this play excited me is because it was very reminiscent of an all-time great shooter named Steph Curry. So again, it's not just because Coby White is a great shooter, it's because he is really good at spacing the floor, moving without the ball, relocating, driving to the rim. He's always staying active on the offensive side of the ball, something that Zach LaVine, didn't always do that well. But again, all these things come together and make Coby White a very dangerous offensive weapon. And even if you want to question his defensive abilities, because I'll be honest, he didn't really stand out that much on, every play down the court, but I'm willing to say that he's an above average defender. He puts his body on the line, he's great at making rotations, he seems to have a pretty good IQ on that end of the floor. The broadcast mentioned during the game that he's leading the Chicago Bulls in charges. He took 2 in this game. So again, all very positive signs. So yeah, again, as someone who was never the biggest fan of Coby White, it really does seem like he has taken a corner and is progressing very well into being at least a starter level guy. Now, I've already talked about Ayo Dosunmu a little bit, so let's just wrap up his little chapter here. I forget if it was last season or the season before, but there was a stretch of time where Ayo, filled in as a starting point guard for the Chicago Bulls. And they went on a good run and he played well, and then he kind of just disappeared to the bench. So it's nice to see him finding momentum again, because again, he's just someone else that is actually capable of making good plays on this team. His passing and playmaking has hit a point where I would fully be comfortable with him running point guard just out of this for the starting lineup for this team. He made some really great passes, some great cuts, and just some great plays overall in that area. I also love his ability to just outrun guys in transition. He's one of the few players in this league, like a De'Aaron Fox or a Tyrese Maxey, who's just able to hit a different level of gear out in the open court. And what's also really impressive is that he doesn't force it in transition. If he knows that he's not going to get a good look, he's also perfectly capable of slowing down, hitting the decelerate button, taking it out and running an actual offense. And listen, when it comes to Patrick Williams, I know that everyone is currently fleeing his island. I can't help but just stay there and weather the storm. I know the numbers still aren't great, but I will argue that by saying he is still only 22 years old, and I just think it's funny how he's been on the trade market for the last, year or so, just because it seems like him in Chicago just isn't going to happen. But what's funny to me is even the people that don't necessarily believe in Patrick Williams still, even they are aware that as soon as he gets traded to a new team, he's probably going to take a leap and become a very good just role player at the very least. And again, even though the numbers aren't looking great, he just still makes so many good plays and just has good flashes on the tape that, again, I can't help but sell my stock on Patrick Williams. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, the Chicago Bulls front office just continues to deliver an absolute masterclass on how to not run an NBA team. It really is incredible, the just number of stupid decisions they have made in recent years. It is a shame for the Bulls fans that this is what they have to deal with. And again, it just seems so obvious that this trade deadline should finally be the one where they deal LaVine, deal Caruso, get some good assets in return, and just let your young guys go out there and thrive and play fun basketball. Because at the end of the day, for NBA fans, I really don't think they care if your team is successful. I mean, obviously at a certain point they do, but I really don't think front offices and owners realize that you can have a bad team, but as long as they're still entertaining and fun to watch, then people are going to come fill your seats. And right now, the Bulls are just expertly avoiding both of those scenarios. They're not fun, they're not entertaining, and they're not successful. But all of that could easily change, again, if they just turn to the youth, start Ayo, start Coby White. We'll see what happens with Patrick Williams. You know, hold on to DeRozan, he's fun, and just go from there. Just do that. That's all I got for this one. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all those good things, and I'll see y'all in the next one.